So I don't know why we got disconnected. Maybe I have to write a song. There's a song like that, right? I don't know why. I don't know why I got disconnected. It's part of the reality of living where I live is unstable internet. And unfortunately, they're installing 5G. And that will probably solve the problem, but it might fry my brain at the same time. Tough decisions, right? I don't, if I knew why the internet was sometimes slowing down, then I would solve it, and I don't know why. Other than I know that this camera is high resolution, and that's part of the problem. And I can see my picture is freezing now. It's like, doesn't make any sense. So maybe what I will do in the future is use my phone because the resolution is not so high. And as a result, we never had any freezing problems on the phone. It's just harder for me to read your comments. And the picture's not so great, but be that as it may, it's probably a better solution because we just lost the class in the middle, which is unfortunate, isn't it? Now we have. Anyway, what can be done? So I think I'm just going to continue reading. What was I saying? I was saying being a devotee is great because you don't have to annihilate your desire, which is actually impossible. And it's only possible to temporarily do it, but not possible to do it permanently. And I don't know at what point that I lost you, because, I was reading, and so I don't know when I lost you, but I was just saying that we, it's impossible to not have desire, but the Mayavadis temporarily curb that, but they can't maintain it. But for us, desire is just like it's not a problem. I don't know. If we have another problem, I'll go on my phone. Keeps interrupting, yeah. I don't know. Maybe my neighbor's kids are playing like 20 video games at once or something. I don't know. I have no idea. I have everything plugged in. We're not even going wireless. We're going Ethernet direct. So we're doing everything we can. Sometimes it just goes slow for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then we're okay. So, yeah, trouble playing this video. Can you still hear me but not see me now? Can you let me know? I want to see. No, I guess you can't. I'm wondering if you can hear me but not see me. There we are. You can see me now? Is it back? Hare Krishna. I'm just waiting for you to reply. I mean, as far as I can tell, you should be hearing and seeing me right now. Is that correct? I have to go down and check your answers, but it's so slow. I can hear you. Video is choppy. Okay. Sometimes chopped up. Okay, so you're going to have a choppy video. The other option is I can just go off and go on my phone, but internet goes bad, and it goes bad in the house, and it's on another line, and it's just, the demigods are, I don't know, playing jokes on us or what. Let's try to continue with or without the image, and I just have to go back and forth from reading, because when I'm reading, I don't see what's going on the screen. So if there's any problem, I don't know. But as long as you can hear, that's what's most important. Hearing is what we're after. Seeing is just a little icing on the cake, you could say. The Lord further added that the Mayavada philosophy taught by Sripad Sankaracharya is an imaginary explanation of the Vedas. But it had to be taught by him, Sankaracharya, because he was ordered to teach it by the personality of Godhead. In the Padma Purana, it is stated that the personality of Godhead ordered his lordship, Shiva, to deviate the human race from him, the personality of Godhead. Krishna ordered Lord Shiva, deviate people from me. The personality of Godhead was to be so covered so that people would be encouraged to generate more and more population. His Lordship Shiva and Devi. His Lordship Shiva said to Devi, in Kali Yuga I shall preach the Mayavada philosophy, which is nothing but clouded Buddhism, in the garb of a Brahmin. I'll preach in the garb of a Brahmin. I'm not reading correctly. Do you understand what I'm reading? Well, you can read when I'm reading, so it's okay, even if I somehow am not always awake. But you can read it, right? Okay, so I am not even going to try to put the video up because it keeps disappearing, and so probably better we don't have it up. As long as you can hear. So I'm assuming you can continue. You can hear me, right? Can you give me a yes? You can hear? Because if you can hear, that's good enough. So I just need a yes or no, or a sign of life that you can hear, even though you can't see me. And I think it takes 20 seconds for you to hear me, or 10 seconds, and then for you to get back. So I'm just waiting to see if I can hear from you. Yes, okay. So I'm going to continue then. After hearing all these speeches of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacarya was struck with wonder and awe and regarded him in dead silence. The Lord then encouraged him with assurance that there was no cause to wonder. I say that devotional service under the personality of Godhead is the highest goal of human life. He then quoted Atmarama Shloka from the Bhagavatam, thus assuring him that even liberated souls who are absorbed in the spirit and spiritual realization also take to the devotional service of Lord Hari, because the personality of Godhead has such transcendental qualities that he attracts the heart of liberated souls. So this is a famous verse. Atma, Rama means satisfied, self-satisfied. So the point of this verse is that even though a devotee is self-satisfied, it doesn't mean that he gives up doing things, but he serves Krishna. He's attracted to the qualities of Krishna. So he's making the point, because you could say Sarvabhauma is Atma Rama. So he's saying, but even the people who achieve this level of spiritual realization, they're attracted to Krishna So it's not like they might think, oh, this is lesser, this is below. When you become realized, you don't do all this bhakti stuff because you realize you're God. You don't have to. And so he's flipping it around and said, no. Those who are completely renounced from this world, they do serve Krishna. It's not the way you think it. It's higher. It's the next step above it, not below it. Then the Bhattacharya desired to listen to the explanation of this shloka. This is the Atmarama shloka. Atmaramas chamunayo niganta api urukame. That's the verse. The Lord first of all asked the Bhattacharya to explain it and said that afterward he would explain it. The Bhattacharya then explained the shloka in a scholarly way with reference to logic. He explained the shloka in 9 different ways, chiefly based on logic because he was the most renowned scholar of logic of the time. The Lord, after hearing the Bhattacharya, thanked him for the scholarly presentation of the shloka. This is like, this is kind of the joke, like setting somebody up. Can you do this? And then the person shows off and they do it, and they go, oh, that's very good. And then you do it like 100 times better to embarrass them. So that's what Lord Chaitanya is doing. And then, at the request of the Bhattacharya, the Lord explained the shloka in 64 different ways without touching the 9 explanations given by the Bhattacharya. What do you think of that? Pretty good? One shloka. Explain 64 different ways. And none of those explanations touched on the 9 explanations of Sarvabhauma. Pretty good. Thus, after hearing the explanation of the Atmarama shloka from the Lord, the Bhattacharya was convinced that such a scholarly presentation is impossible for an earthly creature. That is interesting. Sometimes the Lord would do something, and then people would realize he cannot be an ordinary person, because an ordinary person could not do this. Before this, Sri Gopinath Acharya had tried to convince him of the divinity of the Lord, but at the time he could not so accept him. He could not so accept him. But the Bhattacharya was astounded by the Lord's exposition of the Vedanta Sutra and explanations of the Atmarama verse, Atmarama shloka, and thus he began to think that he had committed a great offense at the lotus feet of the Lord by not recognizing him to be Krishna himself. He then surrendered unto him, repenting for his past dealings with him. And the Lord was kind enough to accept the Bhattacharya. Out of his causeless mercy, the Lord manifested before him as four-handed Narayan, and then again as two-handed Lord Krishna with a flute in his hand. Well, that was pretty nice of him, don't you think? Okay, Sarvabhauma, we're gonna bless you right now. You're getting it, so I'll just show you that I'm Krishna. So I'll just let's set the record straight here. What's what and who's who. So Prabhupada is referring to Gopinath Acharya. Gopinath Acharya is the brother-in-law, I believe brother-in-law, not the brother, but brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And so when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya first met Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Gopinath Acharya said, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, no, he's not. He had his idea who Mahaprabhu was. And so Gopinath Acharya said, you cannot understand Lord Chaitanya because you don't have any devotion. So you're seeing him materially, so it's impossible. And there's a famous verse which I'd have to dust my brain off to remember. It's on the tip of my tongue, or it's on the tip of the crease of that gray matter in my brain, but it's not coming through. What is that verse? But it's something to the effect that only one who's a devotee, which we know, can understand the glories of the Lord. So Gopinath Acharya is like, you can't understand Lord Chaitanya, you have all the wrong ideas because you're not a devotee. One who's not a devotee can't understand. So that's why Prabhupada's referring to him now, is because he's saying that this is what Gopinath Acharya kept telling him. And now Bhattacharya is finally realizing, after hearing Mahaprabhu speak 64 explanations of the Atmarama verse, that there's no way any human being could do this. He must be God. So now he's actually understanding through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Yeah. Prasada lesha grihita hi. Yeah. The verse says, Prasada lesha grihita, because you just need a drop of mercy. Prasada lesha means just a drop of mercy. You need a drop of mercy, then you can understand. He says, without that mercy, you can't understand. So, this is interesting. I mean, let's just talk about this. Like, do you need mercy to understand something academically? Well, you could say if God doesn't give you, capacity, you can't understand. But you definitely don't need divine revelation, and you definitely don't need mercy coming from the practice of bhakti to understand some material subject. But no matter how smart you are, and no matter how many books you've read, if you don't get Krishna's mercy, you can't understand him. It's just, that's how it works. It's not material. So now we see Bhattacharya's got mercy. Now he understands. That's it. You understand. When Krishna lets you understand, you understand. And no matter how hard you try to understand before that, you can't understand, because it's in his hands. It's not in our hands, it's in his hands. So, I feel like I'm doing a radio show now. You can't see me. I think the radio show announcers do their shows in their pajamas or something, because nobody can see them, They don't have to look good. The women don't have to get dressed up and put on makeup. They just did a radio show at home. No one will see them. Okay. So now, by hearing Lord Chaitanya's Atmarama Shloka, some mercy came to Bhattacharya. Now this mercy has come, and now he understands who Krishna is. And it's pretty obvious, because now Mahaprabhu showed him his four-horn form and his two-arm form. Right? The Bhattacharya at once fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord and composed many suitable shlokas in praise of the Lord by his grace. So he composed so many shlokas, and a few of these shlokas are very famous. How many shlokas he composed? Anyone know? Like 100? Yeah, 100 shlokas, Prabhupada said. And there's a couple of them that Prabhupada quotes a lot. Acharyas quote a lot. And he said, that shloka also, I have to dust off my brain. Right, you've come to teach bhakti, vairagya vidya nija bhakti yoga. Vairagya, renunciation, vidya, knowledge, nija bhakti yoga. You've come to give this bhakti yoga. Vairagya vidya nija bhakti yoga ekartam shiksham, I forget, Purusha Purana. Anyway, he's glorifying Lord Chaitanya. So because he's got his mercy, now he can glorify Lord Chaitanya. You're the oldest, Purusha Purana, oldest person, and coming to give your mercy, give love, endowed with renunciation and knowledge. He composed 100 shlokas in praise of the Lord then embraced him, and out of transcendental ecstasy, the Bhattacharya lost consciousness of the physical state of life. Tears, trembling, throbbing of the heart, perspiration, emotional waves, dancing, singing, crying, and all the 8 symptoms of trance were manifested in the body of the Bhattacharya. Sri Gopinath Acharya became very glad and astonished by this marvelous conversation of his brother-in-law by the grace of the Lord. One Of the 100 celebrated shlokas composed by Bhattacharya in praise of the Lord, out of the 100, 2 of the following are most important, and these 2 shlokas explain the mission of the Lord. Here they are. Let me surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has appeared now as Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He is the ocean of all mercy and has now come down to teach us material detachment, learning, and devotional service to himself. Number 2, since pure devotional service of the Lord has been lost in the oblivion of time, the Lord has appeared to renovate the principles, and therefore I offer my obeisances to him. Now, I don't know what you're thinking when you hear this verse, but just a minute ago, Sarvabhauma was a Pakka Mayavadi who did not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And now he's reciting all these shlokas, glorifying Krishna. Isn't that interesting? Meditate on that for a minute. He's like all his life as a logician, impersonal philosopher, and a little time with Lord Caitanya, hearing Lord Caitanya speak, his commentary on one verse, that's it, it's over. And now he's reciting all these verses as if he always knew who Lord Caitanya was. Don't you find that interesting? It's like he's a scholar of bhakti or something. That is the effect of the mercy. Now that he's got the mercy, he understands everything. Isn't that interesting? Don't you think? I think it is. I think it's very interesting. The Lord explained the word mukti to be equivalent to the word Vishnu, or the personality of Godhead. To attain mukti, or liberation from the bondage of material existence, is to attain service of the Lord. So what does that mean? Well, there's a verse, Mukti Pade Sadayabhak. That's a line in the verse. Mukti Pade Sadayabhak. Mukti means liberation. Pade, feet. It becomes your liberation at the feet becomes your rightful claim. It's a verse in Bhagavatam spoken by Lord Brahma, right? Mukti Pade Sadayabhak. So Sarvabhauma, he came to Mahaprabhu shortly after and said, I don't like that verse. I believe that's the verse. He says, it should be changed to Bhakti Pade, at the feet of Bhakti. And Mahaprabhu said, look, you can't change this verse. It's Lord Brahma's verse. It's in the Bhagavatam. But this is what it means. It means that liberation is to attain Krishna consciousness. And the reason he wanted to change it is because he was a Mayavadi. So the word mukti, is all about Mayavadi. He says, so I don't want to hear this word mukti. It's like a nasty word, a bad word. I don't want to hear it. Just like, let's change it to bhakti. And said, no, but mukti means at Krishna's feet. It's kind of funny, right? He's just like, I can't hear the word mukti anymore. It is such a bad word. I was such a bad person. So, interesting, right? This is what's happening to a Mayavadi. Okay, I'm going to give you darshan now. Let's see if it works. Hold on, everyone. The curtains are opening. There I am. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's see what happens now. There's every possibility that the internet will be working better. And there's every possibility it won't be. And it doesn't really matter, because if it's not, at least you can hear me. Right? So, we're going to read a little more. We may not go another half hour because I'm feeling a little spaced out. Spaced out. That's a bit, maybe the Indian way of saying space out. Spaced out. The Lord then proceeded towards South India for some time and converted all he met on the way to become devotees of Lord Sri Krishna. All, everybody. How did he convert them? They just saw him. That was enough. Such devotees also converted many others to the cult of devotional service, or to the Bhagavat Dharma of the Lord. And thus he reached the bank of the Godavari, where he met Srila Ramananda Roy, the governor of Madras, on behalf of Maharaj Prataparudra, the king of Orissa. His talks with Ramananda Roy are very important for higher realization of transcendental knowledge, and the conversation itself forms a small booklet. We shall, however, give herewith a summary of the conversation. Prabhupada is referring to a book he wrote called Ramananda Sambad, Conversations with Ramananda. And so Prabhupada now is going to give a summary of that book. And I gave a class on this a few months ago. It's an important discussion. It's just a process. The discussion is arranged in a way that Ramananda will speak on lower truths in the beginning, and Lord Chaitanya will say, well, that's lower, go higher. And so everything he says, Lord Chaitanya will say, well, just go more, go more, go more, go higher. It's not enough. And that goes all the way up. And until he gets to the gopis' love and the love of Radharani, he'll keep saying, go, 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 go higher, go higher. So it's beautiful in the sense it's a delineation of like kind of an overview of what's taught in the Vedas, and then it goes very quickly into bhakti and into the different rasas of bhakti. And so it really ends up being a glorification of Radharani, a glorification of gopis also, by showing the relative importance of different understandings and different practices and different rasas. You come to the conclusion that Madhurya is the highest, the gopis are the highest, Radharani is the highest. So it's really a glorification of Radharani. So that's what that's about. Oh, I haven't frozen. Fantastic. Okay, we're back. All right. So you want to hear about the conversation with Ramananda Roy? Well, whether you want to or not, that's what we're going to read next. Sri Ramananda Roy was a self-realized soul, although outwardly he belonged to a caste lower than the Brahmins in social status. He was not in the renounced order of life, and besides that, he was a high government servant in the state. Still, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him as a liberated soul on the strength of the high order of his realization of transcendental knowledge. Oh, Ramananda Roy, he's playing a part. He's playing a part in this Leela, but he's not a Shudra. He's a transcendental personality, but in this Leela, he has the job of a Sudra. It's a Sudra occupation. So here you have a Shudra who's of the highest caliber of devotees. Interesting. Still, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him as a liberated soul on the strength of the high order of his realization of transcendental knowledge. Similarly, the Lord accepted Srila Haridas Thakur as a veteran devotee of the Lord, coming from a Mohammedan family. And there are many other great devotees of the Lord who came from different communities, sects, and castes. The Lord's only criterion was the standard of devotional service of the particular person. He was not concerned with the outward dress of a man. He was concerned only with the inner soul and its activities. Therefore, all the missionary activities of the Lord are to be understood to be on the spiritual plane. And as such, the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or the cult of Bhagavad Dharma has nothing to do with mundane affairs, sociology, politics, economic development, or any such sphere of life. Srimad Bhagavatam is purely transcendental, is the purely transcendental urge of the soul. So, as you probably know, when Prabhupada met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he was a follower of Gandhi, and he was very much focused on helping India become liberated from British rule. So when he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he said, this spiritual movement is nice, but before we go for the spiritual, we need to get the British out of India. And Bhaktisiddhanta said, this is too urgent and too important to wait for any political change. And you could also interpret it that way by saying political change spiritual life is transcendental to politics. So whatever the politics may be, spiritual life it's different. And so we don't have to depend on that. So, so in Prabhupada's saying it has nothing to do with mundane affairs. It's along those lines. Like, the world can go this way or that way. Krishna consciousness is transcendental, so it's not so, it may be dependent in some way. We have to live within this world, but it's not fundamentally dependent. Also, you're going to wait for political change, but, will it ever come to the level that you need it? And so, maybe you'll be waiting forever. So, oh yeah, there it is. I give a little explanation. Thank you. So, we're going to have japa class in 23 minutes. And the way I feel right now is I'm going to be doing Nidra Japa Yoga if I don't take a little something. I'll be sleeping during japa. And I don't know why I'm so sleepy, other than the fact that I didn't sleep enough. Well, I guess that's why it is. But I think also just giving another class right before this, non-stop for almost an hour. Yeah. So I'm going to beg your leave. And I'm going to just, what do we do? What did we say? I'm going to rest my eyelids for a few minutes, and then I will meet you during japa, if you'd like to come. Is that okay? I have your permission. Thank you for your permission. And we will continue reading on Friday. Tomorrow we'll have class same time with a Russian translation, but it'll be on Guru Tattva. That's the topic. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande.